Andrew, I'm very happy to have you here in Hamburg. It's the first time I'm talking to you person to person, and we're going to talk a lot today, not only chess related, but also about you and your chess life and how it all came to what is going on here. So, but first question, why are you in Hamburg?
Well, I'm recording a DVD on the Black Knight Tango.
The Black Knight
Yes,
Tango, all right. Shouldn't this be something which Chris Ward should do with his dancing experience?
Possibly. I think I got in first in that case.
What is the Black Knight's Tango?
Well, it's the line where black plays knight f6 and knight c6. Very provocative in the style of Alekhine's defence. And it's been interesting to examine this opening. I think it's a good opening for club players because a lot of white players at that level won't really know what to do against it.
I mean, it goes without saying that you are definitely the Fritztrainer with the most content on ChessBase. This has a reason. People love what you're doing. They love your expertise. They love how well you're prepared. You're an absolute pro with this. And the first Fritztrainer I actually really watched a little bit was the Hippopotamus, which came out very recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not I don't play this opening that much, but it was so captivating. So I really enjoyed that. But are you playing those openings yourself every now and then? Is this happening?
Well, the point is these days I don't play that much. I mean, I play online a lot, in which case I will play the openings I'm researching. Why not? Because I'm anonymous. If they go wrong, I don't mind. But, I've had a lot of practice recording these DVDs. As you said, I've been coming to Hamburg now since 2005. So I think we're up to 50 DVDs. But before that, the forerunner of the ChessBase DVDs was the Foxy Opening series. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Heard of that,
and, that was an interesting time back in the 1990s when we started up recording these Foxy Opening videos. That's how it all began. And I must have recorded nearly 100 of those. So plenty of practice for the ChessBase DVDs. After divorce, I needed to work hard, so I managed to get in a lot of DVDs at that time.
All right. It's a good reason to give some more power.
That's it.
Let's start with the very, very beginning. Born in Eastham?
Well, I was born in Forest Gate, which is a suburb of London.
I see.
And I lived in East Ham in the earlier part of my life.
How was it growing up in this area?
Well, it's changed a lot over the past 30, 40, 50 years. I'm an only child. It was not an easy childhood for me, but East Ham itself is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a normal suburb of London. I went to grammar school there, and that was it. But I remember my parents were working a lot, and I was quite lonely as a kid, and got into chess because of that. It was a kind of companion,
When you're saying you got into chess, your father taught you around the age of?
Well, we used to play a lot.
Yeah.
When he wasn't working, and that was my introduction to chess. Really, I got the spark in grammar school from my maths teacher, who was a pretty good player, and we started actually a chess team at school because such was his influence that we had suddenly quite a few strong players. And then I went to East Ham Chess Club, where I got a lot of support from the members there. And I managed to get reasonable quite early, which was good.
Why did this happen? Why did you get good at chess? What caught this spark of this
Well, it's very
fun?
hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I obviously had some natural ability, but I didn't think about it too much. There was no coaching around at that time. Nothing like that, and so it was just a question of playing, which I did.
Was there anything else you did besides chess in this time, or were you just often trying to find something which would go like, this is something I really love and want to do, until you found chess?
Not really. As I say, I got into chess because I didn't have a great childhood, and I wanted to find something which absorbed me. And of course, chess is all absorbing, isn't it? It can take over if you let it. But I found I was pretty good and became friendly with quite a lot of people, and helped me develop a social life as well.
So that means in school there were also some people who were interested in chess?
Oh, very much so, yeah. Yeah.
And were you one of the best in this area, or were you competing and it was just a fun thing?
It was just a fun thing, I think. but I played on board 1, if that makes any sense.
So you played in numerous school tournaments.
School tournaments, and then got into playing matches at East Ham Chess Club, and then from then on joined a stronger club called London Central YMCA in London, which was very strong at that time. And then that enabled me to mix with all the best young players in London, because they all flocked to the YMCA at that time.
At what so from what to what age were you staying in this area to play chess?
Well, we're talking about all the way through. I mean, when I got to my late teens, I started to travel a lot, playing in tournaments abroad.
Oh, okay.
And, but that was really bumming around. You know, it wasn't anything serious or some sort of serious investigation into the game or really trying to be a grandmaster or something. It was really just travelling around and enjoying life.
So we're speaking about, which time was that actually? Which period of time? Was it the 70s?
It was 70s, yeah.
Yeah. So how was it, how did you gain your chess knowledge? Probably books, I assume.
Well, mixing with other strong players. I mean, at that time, the English chess explosion was just coming into being. And I was good enough, luckily, to be able to be invited to tournaments where all the strong players were playing. And, you know, when you mix with really strong players, something rubs off on you, and you learn a lot. And that's how it was at the time. It was fairly disorganised. It was all playing in weekend tournaments and, you know, playing each other and learning from those encounters, or playing abroad. I mean, you might even meet one of your friends in the last round when you're playing for a big prize, which wasn't a lot of fun, but that's the way it was. And it was very, very relaxed and easygoing at that time.
If you're saying like childhood wasn't that easy, chess was one thing to absorb, was it really, would you say that chess can be something where you go like, well, I don't want to be too drastic and not say it's a lifesaver, but it can be something to really change your life like a lot of other things too?
It can shape your life if you let it. I mean, I think these days I'm more guarded about the influence that chess can have, especially on young people, especially I'm coaching young people. It's hard to make a living at chess. And I think if you let it, chess can take you over. And you suddenly find that you're playing chess and you've got nothing else in your life. And I'm very careful to recommend that people some sort of life balance. That if you're going to play chess, you should do other things as well. I think that's one of my main responsibilities as a coach.
What about going to more tournaments? What about taking students maybe or something like that?
I didn't have any students at that time. Mm-hmm. You know, it was all it was really surviving on very little money and enjoying a random lifestyle.
Did you have, so you took some random jobs at that time to keep living?
I had a couple of jobs, which again my parents were trying to push me into getting. Not much of an academic life because I didn't have a great childhood academically, but I took a few jobs, but they weren't interesting to me.
But you noticed at one point that you can teach and that this is something that you're enjoying to do. Was this far later in your life, or?
Well, I think it was later that I began to understand I might be quite good at it. Again, it was mixing in this club called London Central YMCA in London. And there are a lot of kids there, enormous number of young players. And we used to hold lectures and simuls and displays there. And I got involved with teaching there and just seemed to be natural to me. I quite enjoyed it.
We're talking about simuls a little later, of course, we have to, but was this something which you already enjoyed a lot back there?
Yeah, I did, as a young person. I did actually enjoy it.
Were you dreaming a bit like, I wish I could at one point have a bigger simul with a lot of players where I'm the one who is beating all?
No, I didn't.
Well, could have been then. So how did this continue? Now we're talking about the 70s, you were playing chess, you were kind of staying steady, you did your stuff, and then the 80s dropped in.
Yes.
Right? But then it became even more serious because, as far as I can recall, it was 1984 exactly. You received the well-deserved IM title.
Yep.
So how did that happen?
Do you know, looking back, I can't remember much about it. I think I remember getting a certificate. That was it.
You didn't even notice until somebody.
No,
by the way, you're an international master.
I did know it, but it didn't seem to be an enormous priority to me to get to push on from there. Perhaps I should have done and pushed on and got Grandmaster. But yeah, I don't know. I've never thought in terms of titles that much, or achievements or anything like that.
But so you're saying you don't remember which tournament it was? Or
well, I think it might have been the Benedictine International, which was a tournament that was held in Manchester at that time in England. We had a lot of tournaments then. Nowadays, not so many.
A couple of years later, ChessBase was born, 1986.
Yes, that's right.
So when was your first contact with ChessBase ever? When did you hear about this, and how did you
I think my first real contact with ChessBase was with Frederick Friedel in Lyon in 1990. Because at that time I was working a lot in big tournaments, running the bulletin or doing commentary, stuff like that. And we had the World Championship match, Kasparov-Karpov in '86 in London. I was part of the commentary team then. And there were other big tournaments in London at that time, Phillips and Drew and such. And I was invited to go to Lyon to be part of the bulletin team. And there I met Frederick, who was, you know, enthusiastically putting forward ChessBase. And I was introduced to it at that time. So I'd have to say 1990.
And how was it? Were you skeptical at first, or were you mildly intimidated by what ChessBase has to offer, or were you very keen and neophile about this?
Interesting question. I don't think I appreciated what ChessBase could do then. I mean, at the time it was Kasparov using it, wasn't it, to help him prepare for his World Championship matches. But I'm not sure I used it for quite a while. When did the first copy of Fritz come out?
Oh, you're asking me. Now I should have a good answer, right? I think it was 91, probably.
It could be something like that. I think that was my first real introduction and using ChessBase-like products, because I used Fritz a lot at that time.
How do you like this idea of chess computers in general? Was it something where you were like, oh, this is the end of chess, or let's work with it?
Well, there's no choice, is there? You have to work with it. I mean, I can't say I've ever liked the idea of a third party introduced into a game of chess. So it's difficult for me, but perhaps I'm old-fashioned in that regard.
Talking about old-fashioned, books are something which is also a big, big part of your life. You have written lots of books. How many, if I may ask?
I'm on my 21st now.
So when do you remember when when you wrote your first book?
Yeah, I do. It was 1989, and it was a book on the King's Indian. And I remember being surrounded by large sheets of paper with games on. I don't know if you recall, but in England, we've always laughed about this, but there was a series called the Trends series. And there was Development series, and that was almost the forerunner of ChessBase, because what it was 100 games, almost lacking in annotations, and then you had to pick your way through them and find the best games and so on and so forth. And for the King's Indian book that I wrote, I mean, I literally asked a friend of mine to send me what would be called databases now, like so hundreds and 200, 300 games or something, and you had to pick your way through these pieces of paper. That's what it was in those days. But it was 89, yeah. Now, it was all taking off around that time.
Yeah, it seems so. Yes, chess had, of course, some value, some more value than
that was the start
before.
of the computer era, in fact, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely, yeah. Did you have any chess idol which you were looking up to, even in the 70s maybe, or 80s?
Well, Fischer was almost my idol as such. Obviously, later on in his life, he had some mental problems, but it didn't stop me from admiring his play, because he did everything without the use of machines. He did it on his own. Now, of course, you can argue that warped his personality and helped to make him crazy, and that is difficult for me. I look back at things like that, and I think, is it really good to recommend somebody to play chess to the exclusion of everything else, because that's more or less what he did.
Oh, wow. That's going very deep. I didn't expect that, actually. So, do you know anybody who you knew a bit better, who was very much into chess and it didn't go well as well? Besides, of course.
I think there are. I mean, the chess community is known for its eccentric characters.
Yeah.
But what would they do if they didn't play chess? This is the question, isn't it?
That is a very good question.
It's a controversial point, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know, how far should you go when you study chess? These days, it's harder than ever with a computer. You know, you might think it makes life easier, but in fact, it makes life more difficult. I went to the European Seniors last year to represent England, and it was my first tournament for a long while. And you have to do computer preparation. That's it. And I found it really tiring. You know, 3-4 hours every day working with a computer. No wonder chess has become a young person's game. You know, you look more and more young people are playing, and they're getting stronger and stronger. But the old guys haven't got the energy that's needed to do all this preparation. It's very tough.
Getting back to the 80s, because you mentioned when you received your IM title, you should have actually pushed it a bit more to a grandmaster. But if I am correct, then actually your strongest time was in the 2000s. So, like rating-wise,
it's possible.
But do you regret that you didn't push it a bit more?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
Yeah,
Can you
I think,
emphasize on this?
Yes, because I realised I was very lazy at that time. I didn't work as hard as I should have done. And no, because I'm happy with the way my life turned out. You know, I've got a family, which a lot of chess players haven't, and I don't want for anything. I've done reasonably well out of chess, and I'm grateful for it.
That sounds very good, actually. Very self-reflecting and very honest. Thank you for that. Have you actually ever been second? Was also a question which was on my mind.
No, I don't think so.
Were you ever looking forward to something like this, or did it never cross your mind?
It just never happened. If it had happened, I would have done the job conscientiously, but it never happened. But I've been abroad on lots of junior trips with the English junior team and things like that.
That was the thing which was one of your main things, actually. You were teaching the junior teams.
Yes, that's right. And I mean, myself, Glenn Fleer and Neil MacDonald, we were the three people that went on most trips with the team all over the place, really, all over the world, to Vietnam and so on. And it was really interesting. That I really did enjoy.
How many years did this last, and in which time was that?
Going on. I think the last one was 2017, because
really?
The way...
I didn't know that.
The way England junior setup has changed. But before we used to go abroad, and the first one, well, it would have to have been in the 1990s maybe, I can't remember.
Did you actively choose the younger ones because they can still learn something from you?
Well, I think around that time, I was starting to think about family, and I had to work harder, and that meant getting into schools. And in schools, you generally teach the younger kids. In England, certainly, the primary school setup is geared towards chess, whereas the secondary setup isn't. And so you naturally teach young kids, and I found I was quite okay teaching kids, you know, up to the age of 13 or something, and that's how it's worked out.
So you have a family, you have 4 children?
Yes.
And are you telling me all of this was... You did nothing else than chess in all that time? Or were there some other things here and there?
Well, I had to be a dad, clearly, you know.
Besides that one, yes.
Yes.
But it was really, you based your whole complete career on chess. And
yeah,
you mentioned,
those days it was 7 days a week working.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I worked 7 days a week for 10 years or something.
Because you mentioned that you were a bit lazy, but that was the time before. But then when you had the urgency or the need to do something, you were really pushing hard, it seems so. Because chess wasn't like known for being the greatest thing to make a living, after all.
Well, it's possible if you worked hard. I mean, it's possible now. if you're not one of the world's best players or you can't guarantee a regular income, you can still work hard and develop a career through that.
2000, and you mentioned 1986, but also in the year 2000 you were commenting.
Yeah, that's Kasparov Kramnik at the Riverside studio in Hammersmith in London.
You did everything chess related. How was the commentating for you?
That's fun. It's something I've always I've enjoyed that more than anything else. And I did the British Championship commentary for 20 years on my own.
There we go.
Was really good fun.
Yeah, not only for you, I guess for everybody who was listening.
Again, commentary, the art of chess commentary has changed completely. Because in those days, you just had demonstration boards and you spoke spontaneously. So you're allowed to make mistakes. Chess commentators these days, it seemed to me, are almost not allowed to make mistakes because they're hampered by the spectre of the engine and the critics. You know, you make a mistake, the critics are on you in a flash, and this takes away a lot of the spontaneity of chess commentary and a lot of the fun as well. I mean, part of the fun is the mistakes.
In 2004 was also, let's say, world record from your part. You were playing against 321 players.
Correct.
You only lost one single game. In hindsight, if I may ask, wouldn't it have been better to play only against 320 players? Just a joke.
I remember the game I lost.
yeah, of course. I guess you remember that. Must have stung a little bit.
I kept you at the board for 18 hours. So it made him work for it.
First of all, why did this happen?
Well, it was actually to raise funds for a number of charities and for my cricket club at that time, who actually organised the whole thing. And I didn't really want to do it. I had to be persuaded to do it. I mean, I was always good at simuls, but of course I never actually ever played that number of people. And once I got the charity angle going, because one of my daughters has Down syndrome, and one of the charities that was involved in the simultaneous was a Down syndrome charity. So through that, I was persuaded to do it. And after that, we just did it. Oh. But it was a hell of a lot of organisation. You cannot believe the amount of organisation involved in getting 321 people to come to the same place and sit there at the same time and wait. You know, because how long does it take you to make the round?
Exactly.
I mean, subsequently, there were a number of attempts that, you know, defied all credibility. People claiming numbers and times which I know had to be false. Because if you do it properly, it takes a long time. And the organisers made a very serious mistake in having a lot of good players playing in this simultaneous display. So it was crazy, you know, and yeah, it was fun though. It really is a highlight of my chess life. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah. So how long did it take, all in all?
I think we started at 9:30 or something in the morning, and it finished at 3 a.m. something like that.
Goodness, your legs must have.
I felt fine.
Yeah,
I felt fine. Yeah,
you had the right mindset to go through all.
Yeah,
of this.
you put yourself into a kind of trance, and then just.
So against whom did you lose? Do you remember the name?
I do. I remember a guy. It was a guy called Talal Shakirchi, and I was astonished to see him appearing on the World Poker Tour program subsequently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and because I was teaching his son in one of the schools where I worked at, and he was playing just as a guest, and I made a small mistake early, and he pushed home the win, as I say, after about 18 hours.
Incredible.
It was a crazy time. It was a memorable experience.
Shortly after that, I think we were speaking about this earlier for a short moment. Your first Fritztrainer was also in the
I think it was around that time.
Yeah.
The ABC of the Roy Lopez, I think it was called.
A classic! Get it now!
And I remember preparing that DVD in Northumberland, in the north of the UK. My family and I, we went on holiday around that time, and I spent most of the holiday preparing this DVD. They were not amused.
How fun! But you enjoyed it, obviously.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you wouldn't have
something
done a couple
completely
more.
different.
Yes. And back then, our studio was in a different area in Hamburg.
Yeah, well, it's Mexico ring.
I recall a story from our chief editor, André Schulz, because, and I don't remember it that much, but maybe I can hear your version. There was something which happened with a car.
There was one time I drove to Hamburg when nobody else was on the road. All the flights had been cancelled. This was Christmas Eve, I think it was, I got back.
Okay.
That might have been the story.
Maybe.
And,
what happened there?
Well, I decided, as there were no flights to drive to Hamburg. Absolutely
from
crazy.
England,
from
yeah.
England, yeah. I mean, it's about 650 miles or something, in the deepest of winter. And I arrived at the ChessBase office, and they were quite astonished to see me because nothing else was moving on the road.
Oh my goodness!
And driving this BMW.
If I may ask, you're 4 children.
Children, yes.
Can they all play chess?
Yes, apart from my daughter.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, they all played, and they had the choice whether to continue or to play on, and they all stopped.
From what age to what age are they ranging?
Oldest son is 33, and my daughter, youngest daughter, is now 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are they still living with you, or?
No. They're all working independently,
Whoa.
which is perfect as far as I'm concerned. Even the youngest daughter is now working, which is nice to see.
Fantastic. Now you are living a bit outside of London in the
Yes.
nature. Bromley? Bramley, yeah.
Yes.
So I just looked at the pictures on Google Maps and I saw beautiful nature and some
Oh, it's
cows.
very nice, yeah. Very nice. I live with my partner, who's the head teacher of a girls' prep school.
Okay.
And we've been together now for over 10 years. It's very stable and it's quite nice.
Lovely. What are you doing when you're at home and not playing chess? Or doing any chess-related things?
Yeah, just having a normal life, relaxing, do a lot of swimming and
Swimming?
still play cricket. Just have a normal existence, really. Get to see my kids from time to time and things like that. There's nothing extraordinary about it.
Oh, it sounds very ground to earth. Nice. I think this is a wish of a lot of people, actually. So, congrats for that. Is there a favorite chess tournament you have ever visited in your time?
Well, I think the tournament in Guernsey is memorable for me because there I met my first girlfriend, a Dutch girl.
She was a chess player? Or?
Yes, she was.
Oh.
Yes, we met at the tournament. And subsequently, I met my wife there.
Wow. If you're single, Guernsey tournament.
Yeah, I can
There you
recommend
have
it. I can recommend it. But yeah.
So that was the.
And it was
reason why
always
it
a
was
great tournament. It's still running,
All right.
actually. I think that it runs in October or something like that. And it's always a great tournament to go to because I don't know if you've been to the Channel Islands.
Unfortunately not. I've heard a lot about it. And in the recent interview with Nick Pert, he won one Guernsey championship, I think.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something.
A lot of strong players go there. But it's not only the chess they go for, it's the
ladies.
the ambience and the... No, funnily enough, not.
It's
but,
probably the ambience, yes.
Yes.
It sounds very good. Okay, that's a good recommendation. Talking about recommendations, which book can you recommend to every single chess player?
Wow. That's
It can be one of yours.
It's an incredibly difficult question to answer.
You can choose one of your own, and then
I think
another
the
one.
books that I got most from were 60 Memorable Games by Fischer and Larson's Selected Games of Chess by Bent Larson. Those are the two books which inspired me.
Okay.
Great games collections, which of course are now few and far between because of the influence of the engine.
So they're not that correct anymore?
No, chess is more of a slog. There are many more mistakes in these games, Fischer's games, Larson's games, and for me that's what made them entertaining. It's far more human
There you go.
than
So you
just
would
bashing out
recommend
computer moves, you know.
You would recommend them because of their flaws too.
Yes, without doubt.
Very good. And what about your own books, please?
What about them?
I mean, all of them, yeah. But which one would you go like, this is a chess book everybody should read that?
Oh, that's hard to say. I mean, most of my books concentrate on I can't answer that question. I think I've written a number of really good books. One of my favourites was on the hippopotamus system, but that wasn't really understood by the chess public, in my view.
Okay.
They were moaning about it, that certain variations had been left out and so on and so forth. But I deliberately left stuff out of that book to try and make people think.
Good. You are keen on teaching people to think about chess a bit more, not using the engine that much, using their own mind, and doing it on a healthy level.
Yeah, that would sum it up. And eventually become self-reliant. I think when you're self-reliant, you can do everything for yourself. That's how I teach eventually. That's how they should be able to do everything for themselves and to be a stable person as well. Well, you might not be a champion, but you won't ever regret playing chess, which I think is a good way to look at it.
That's beautiful. What can we expect from you in the next couple of years, and where will Andrew Martin be in 2030?
Under 6 feet under?
No, don't do that. But what are your future plans in general?
Well, I mean, I'm of retirement age, but I don't feel like retiring. I shall just keep going, still writing, slowing down gradually.
Yeah. I think people are grateful that you're still continuing your chess journey with all of this.
Well, I still enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. I might get into playing again, which would be nice.
Yeah, when was the last time you're playing sporadically for an English
Sporadically,
team?
hardly at all.
Yeah.
Hardly at all. The last tournament was this European Seniors in Dresden last year.
And it didn't go well because...
Well, I didn't lose. I mean, there were 2 wins and 7 draws or something on board too.
Fair enough.
Yes,
well,
fair enough. But I didn't exactly set the house on fire with my dynamic play, which...
Set the house on fire. Oh, well.
I may play again.
So this
Probably
is something
in senior
on your
chess.
mind. So, yeah, fair enough. But do you want to play somewhere in England, or do you want to go to a tournament somewhere else in the
No,
world?
just keep it flexible. I could go somewhere else. Yeah, travelling would be nice.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the tournament in Dresden. It was exceptionally well organised, and the venue was superb. So all credit to the German organisers there.
Thanks. Do you have any memory of one of the chess tournaments, or any chess memory where you go like, that was one of the craziest chess moments in my life? And would you share it with us? I won't tell anybody.
Do you know what? I can't think of any event really which I can pick out. There is a funny story regarding ChessBase, though. I was here in Hamburg, and I used to stay in the flat, the famous ChessBase flat.
Yes.
Fine. So I was sleeping there one night, and it was the middle of the night. And I always am quite careful locking the door and stuff like that. So it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and somebody walked into the flat. And I couldn't believe my eyes. You know, it was pitch black. And somebody just walked into the flat after I've locked the door. So this is, you know, you don't think at this point. So I got up out of bed, and I had no clothes on at all or anything like that. And I told this shadowy figure what would happen if he didn't get out of the flat immediately.
Yeah.
And, well, there was he looked a bit strange, and then he walked out of the flat. I didn't recognise the guy at all. I thought it was some drunk off the street or something. And then I locked the door twice. And I found out in the morning, I said to the ChessBase, I said to Rainer, you know, somebody came into the flat, and they couldn't believe it. You know, what's going on? They can't get into the flat. And I found out it was Lubomir Fatachnik, who had actually got a key to the flat, probably given to him by ChessBase, and he arrived spontaneously at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I threw him out of the flat with a few choice words.
Oh my goodness!
So that was quite an amusing
beautiful.
incident. I don't think he's spoken to me since.
He probably never knew who you were.
I think he had. I think he was in no doubt that it was an
angry,
English speaker.
naked man who's from England, who's not very keen to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think there were a few four-letter words involved.
Maybe. Well, I'll quickly hint him to this interview, and he will probably then realize it was you the whole time. That's very nice.
Yeah, possibly.
Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Hope to see you guys soon for another interview.
Okay.